been so long since I've done this. I don't like.
How do I talk?
How do I put headphones on?
When was the last time we did this?
It's been over a month. It's probably been like 6 weeks, honestly.
Time
flies when you're busy as fuck.
Yeah. I truly believe that. Like, we have really not done much relaxing, even though
No.
But it's nice to have something off the plate for a little bit.
Yeah. We've just removed something off the plate.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
We've missed you all.
Mm-hmm. I've missed you.
I've missed you.
Haven't seen much of you.
You know, just been
busy.
Dill-dallying around.
Yeah, just twiddling my thumbs, taking naps all day.
No.
I know.
I wish. I wish. Can we talk about how we're hungover today?
Yeah. Like, I bet you guys never would have thought we would say this.
When I say hungover, we did not drink any alcohol last night. We just went somewhere and we stayed out.
Till 11 o'clock.
And we're old. And I'm just tired. And I feel hungover.
Yeah.
Even though.
Well, the event was like, we went to a comedy show, which
was so funny.
Amazing. By Shane Moss, who is like really big in the psychedelic space. He's a comedian. He has like specials and, anyway, he did a comedy show last night in Louisville and it started at 8 o'clock. And we were like, this is past my bedtime.
Yeah.
This is going to be so much. I need a nap during the day. I drank a Red Bull on the way because I knew I wasn't going to last.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, and I microdosed. And so during the show, I couldn't help it, but I kept yawning.
I'm sure that there were a lot of people in the show that was yawning, I'm sure. Yeah.
I kept yawning. But it was
we
hilarious.
we didn't leave till 11, and this morning I was like, I am struggling. And we did nothing.
Yeah.
We left when it was over.
Can you imagine drinking?
God, no. I think it's more of like an energy hangover.
Yeah.
And I wasn't around anybody last night who sucked the life out of me, but I feel like that happens when I'm around people who suck the life out of me. Like, I get peopled out.
Well, and also I just get peopled out when, if I go to the mall, I'm not talking to anybody at the mall. I've done some Christmas shopping, but you leave and you're so exhausted because there's just so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just.
You cannot tell me you can't feel the energy of a crowded room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I used to love shopping, and now I'm online only. I will do anything to avoid the malls or Target right now, especially right now during the holidays. Fuck that shit. But yeah, last night, I think it's just more of an energy hangover, and I haven't gotten ready in 6 weeks. I haven't put makeup on. I haven't had to get dressed. I haven't had to present myself, That sounds weird, but.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. All right.
I get it.
I mean, I've gone to a few Christmas parties and had to do things up like that. But yeah, we're both struggling today.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're tired. Anyways, but hope you all are hanging in there this holiday season.
Taking care of yourselves.
And taking care of yourself. That is something that Leah and I have always struggled with. And it's still busy, even though we are have been taking this break. There's still a lot of stuff going on, and it is still busy, and it is still stressful. So
yeah, and we kind of wanted to come back on here because we left, and I think we owe you guys a closing out episode.
Yeah.
But also to let you know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we've talked about it before a little bit, about taking this break. But I think everyone feels the rush during the holidays. Everyone does. And I think that really prioritizing your health, your mental health, your needs is extremely important, more important during this time of year than any time of year. But I think so many people struggle with that because it's the season of giving, and it's the season of hanging out with people you haven't seen in years. And it's the season of being around family that you haven't been around. And so there has to be this balance of remembering that like you also still have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And how do you do that in a season where nothing is about you?
It's really hard. What is that quote? If you think you're enlightened, then go home and spend time with your family.
I haven't seen that, maybe like on a meme or something.
I don't know, but it's like
that's so fucking true.
It's so true. Like you think you're like all good and whatnot, and then you go spend time with. And I'm not talking about like my kids or anything like that, but like the people who raised you. Yeah, that might be a different story.
Right.
That is the truth. And obviously during this time, that is a lot of what you're doing.
Well, and I just realized something in one of our last episodes with Sam Powers. He was saying like there's a reason like this rage is happening now. It's because my window of tolerance has gotten so much smaller.
Yeah.
And I do think that when you are the person who is healing and doing all of these things for yourself, you're like, oh, I'm going to go do this and I'm so healed and I'll be so much less triggered. Wrong. You have to work almost extra. Like you're working overtime, double time, just to make sure that those triggers aren't like sending you spiraling, because your window of tolerance is so much smaller. So like everything is like triggering to you. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that?
Oh, absolutely. And it has been this constant battle with me to be like, do I say something?
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it? Do I let it go? That's who they are. That's where they're at in life. That's all that they're going to give me. Like,
yeah.
Like they're here. And again, this is not in a...
Right. They're not doing the work. So
yeah, it's not in a condescending way, meaning I'm better than you, but I don't want to drop down to you, and you're not in the place where you're going to meet me where I'm at.
Right.
You can only meet, you only know what you know. And if you're not doing the work, then...
Right.
But being in those environments, you are much more aware of maybe the things that they are doing or saying, where it stems from. So it is this like...
It's a battle. It's a battle.
Yes.
So
healing is bittersweet in that way.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I've been seeing all these videos circulating on like Instagram, like Reels and TikToks and stuff that are like talking about family systems and family dynamics, and especially around the holidays. So I think that that's kind of what we need to talk about, like how to take care of yourself during the holidays and what you can do. Because I do realize that not everybody can remove themselves from their family situations. But it was talking about how like, everybody goes, and let's say like there's one person in your family that everyone caters to, because if that person's in a bad mood, then everything's going to go south. So everyone's walking on eggshells and catering to this person because they don't want to rock the boat, because if this person gets pissed off, then the entire family is like, family dinner's ruined.
I have that in my family.
I think everyone kind of does.
Yeah.
And when you're the black sheep of the family, hey guys, hey. It's me.
YOLO.
It's very hard to do what everyone else does. So in some of these videos, they're like, let's say, everyone knows that grandpa is a ticking time bomb. He makes rude comments. He comments on your body weight. He makes inappropriate jokes. Not everybody's grandpa. I'm not saying this about everybody's grandpa. Let's just say that. But like, let's insert weird, creepy uncle here.
Yeah, it's just an example.
But it just seems to be the people who are the most immature as far as like their emotional intelligence goes are the people who are the most explosive. And those are the people that everybody is like walking around making sure they please. Think about that. Like, so what is that saying to your children or your children's children? Like, we make sure no one steps on this person and pisses him off, because if he makes like an inappropriate joke or comments on your weight and it hurts your feelings, that's just how he is. Don't say anything. Don't bring it up. Don't call him out.
So how do you recommend then? Because a lot of us can relate to that. How do you recommend then going about that when everyone else is like, oh, just, just let it go. Just, don't say anything. People are not trying to rock the boat, but you see it for what it is. How do you deal?
Oh God.
So I have an answer.
You do have an answer?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of have an answer, but I also recognize that this answer is not the easy route.
Okay.
So my kids don't really have like that type of situation. So I'm going to put myself in this situation, like where they're having to be around a family member that makes inappropriate comments or, is making, let's say, like racist jokes, and nobody else in the family is racist, but everybody's just like, My recommendation, if you're on this journey of healing, and especially if your kids are around, is you hold boundaries and you can say to this person, that was really inappropriate what you said. Or you can tell your kids, you don't have to hug them if you don't want to. And you can say no thank you. And if they give you any shit for that, you come and you get me. And you can go to this person and say, they don't want to hug you. And I respect what my child wants. I don't want to force them to hug someone. Like little things like that, you know? I also recognize that would probably cause some issues.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get labeled the bad guy because you couldn't just suck it up and deal with it.
Well, and you might go down this rabbit hole of starting more things because you actually were the one that spoke up.
Yeah. And then you're going to be the one ostracized, and you're going to be the one that everybody's saying like, see, now you ruined Christmas. Like, why did you have to say something? And I don't think that's fair. But I also, what I would do, and this is where it's difficult, is I would stop going. That's what I would do. And I would say that, like, if you guys can't respect these boundaries, and if you're going to make me feel bad because I don't want to do these things, then I'm just going to not come anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case for everybody's family situation.
Right.
So that's why I do have advice, but my advice is not probably the easiest.
Fuck, because that was my advice.
That was?
Yes, because I grew up with this person. This person was my sibling. So holidays were always incredibly hard. It was always a thing where if this person gets mad, everyone's day is ruined, and you're gonna get the wrath. You're gonna get a grudge held on you. It's not fun to be on the bad side of this person. Something happened, probably over a decade ago during Christmas, and where I got ostracized because I'm the black sheep, and that was when I was like, okay, so you're not going to go anymore. And I decided then, pre-healing Christine, that I didn't want to be in that space.
You don't want to put yourself in that situation.
So I have relationships with other people in my family, but now what happens is I just see them at different times that aren't the holidays, because I know that I'm not going to get advocated for. I know that, and I know it's going to hurt my feelings. I know that person, they're going to get a pass. I know that they're going to do things to be, vindictive or hateful or manipulative or conniving, whatever. And I just don't want to be around it, and I don't want to be around people who are enabling it. So for me, I love them, but I will see them at different times. That isn't Christmas, because it's just, I'm not going to add another thing on my belt. And for me, home is Tony, my partner, and my kids.
Yeah.
That's home. So that's who I'm going to spend the holidays with. And then anything outside of that, if it works, it works. But that specific situation, I am just not going to put myself in, because it's abusive and I'm not going to do it, especially on fucking Christmas.
Yeah.
So, but I know people struggle with that, because I think with the holidays comes a feeling of obligation.
Absolutely.
And I've heard it, you've heard it, where people are like, oh, I don't want to do this, and I'm so stressed, and blah, blah, blah. And then I will or you will put it
Then
back.
don't do it.
Well, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, but I do. And, and it's not just family members. It's going crazy above and beyond for your children.
Yeah.
Going crazy
My
above and
husband struggles
beyond
with that.
to host people and like have your home be pristine and have like, you make all the things and you're really exhausting yourself. And for me, like, I understand that people may feel obligated to do it, but just because you feel obligated to do it doesn't mean that you have to do it. Now, there are some things that, sure, like you're going to get your kids gifts and all of that stuff.
Right.
But there are maybe ways to compromise with yourself to lighten the load.
Yeah.
There will still be, we still have stressful things going on. We still have busy schedules around this time, but we stopped recording because it was just another thing off our plate.
Yeah. And I've had something going on almost every single weekend since we've stopped.
Same.
And that's what I mean. Like, what can I take off my plate that is going to be beneficial to me and my family and is going to not, break the whole fucking world apart? Like, yeah. I have 2 kids' birthdays. We did one last weekend, one the weekend before. So it's like, that has to happen.
Right.
I can't not do my kids' birthday parties.
Right.
But I want to give an example of what you were talking about. I have a couple of examples. So a couple of years ago, we haven't really talked about this a lot, but I started having issues with my in-laws. And we're no contact with them now. My husband is as well. But a couple of years ago, like, I didn't want to be around them. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not going. And I think that this, for me, it started with mushrooms, but really it started when COVID happened, and it like gave people an excuse to stay home. And I kind of want to like ask you, if this happened with you during COVID and you couldn't be around your family, if that was the best Christmas you ever had because you were just with you and your family and you didn't have to go everywhere else where you felt obligated to go, sit with that for a minute and decide whether that's like what's maybe best for you. And it's okay if it's going to piss people off.
Yeah.
So yeah, a couple of years ago, I was like, I don't feel comfortable being over there. There's tension. I get anxious when there's a situation where I don't feel comfortable. I'm not going to spend my Christmas like that.
Yeah.
You guys can go. I'm staying home.
So did they go?
They did. This was
that hard?
2 years ago. It was hard. I really struggled with it because I was home alone on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It was really fucking hard. And so after that, I was like, yeah, that's not happening again. Like, I tried to make it to where I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this as time to relax on Christmas. Like, they spent Christmas morning here and then they went over there. So It wasn't like I didn't get to open my presents with the kids and have Christmas morning. But then the rest of the day I was alone. And growing up the way I grew up, I was like, no, that's never happening again. I'm not going to like let someone else have my kids on Christmas Day and me be alone. Like, it'd be different if like my husband was also here with me, maybe, but still I'm like, they're my fucking kids.
Right.
I want to be with my kids
on
Christmas Day. So it didn't happen after that. But there was another situation I wanted to bring up because I have an old client who was she's kind of in the same situation with her in-laws and struggles, and they hate her just like mine hated me.
God, all these in-law stories are wild.
Yes. Maybe we'll get into that next season. Like in-laws in general and like the fucking shit. She's like, and I have to go to my in-laws and they hate me anyway. And I just hate being over there. And I was like, then don't go. And she's like, oh, I can't do that. Like, why not? She's like, I don't want them to be upset with me. They already hate you.
Yeah, they already don't like you.
Like, if they already hate you, like, just make something up the first time. And then, like, just say you have a headache. Like, don't go. And your husband knows this situation.
Or.
Okay.
So, I don't have this in-law situation. So, but this is just my perspective, and again, I'm reiterating, I don't have this. Tony's parents have passed, and if they were alive, I think they would have been the best ever. And I truly mean that.
Yeah.
I think that if in-laws are mean and disrespectful and they make it known and make you feel like they hate you, that is on your partner's responsibility
100%.
to hold boundaries with his parents, because at the end of the day, you should be each other's number one priority.
100%.
So I don't think that's her responsibility. I think that's his responsibility to make sure that if she is there, she is treated with respect and she is welcomed. And if she's not, then they are not coming.
And he needs to be on board with that.
Oh, he needs to be the one
advocating for her,
leading it.
So that's where we also struggled, because my husband was all like, this is pre-sober husband. And he was very much like, I'm not getting involved in that. Like, this is between you and my mom. You deal with it.
Yeah. And I think
it pit us against each other.
Well,
and we spent a long time in therapy and did a lot of fucking psychedelics and got sober for us to realize, like, no, we're the team. You have to be my partner in this. You have to be my teammate in this. It can't be me telling your mom these things. You have to be that person because it's your mother.
Yeah.
And if the roles were reversed, I would be doing that for you. I would be advocating for you. Mm-hmm. But it took a long time for us to get there.
Yeah.
Which is why we're no contact now, because they could not, they respected nothing he said about his boundaries with me.
Right. And
like he was like, I don't even want to give like the full, I'm not giving the full scope, but let's just say, for example, he would say, if you call my wife a bitch, I'm not coming over. And they would call me a bitch. And that's how disrespectful it was. So he finally was just like, all right, if you guys can't even like respect these simple things, like we're not coming over anymore.
Yeah.
But he had to be the one to do it. Like,
right.
Otherwise it was me just looking like the fucking bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
wasn't with a parent. But we were going to have, and I don't want to give too many details, so it's like very obvious about who this is about. We were going to have an event, and someone wanted to come, and that person, even though they didn't know me and weren't willing to know me, they wanted to come, but it was our event.
Okay.
And so Tony called said person. I just told her who it was.
I already knew.
I know. Tony called said person and said, we are open to you coming, but if you come, you have to treat Christine with respect. And like, this could be a fresh start in a new direction, but I'm putting the ball in your court that
yes.
You are going to agree to this. And it is very black and white. If you don't agree to this, then you are not invited. You are not welcome. And then this person proceeds to be like, fuck no, I'm not treating her with any respect. I'm pretty sure she called me a stupid fucking millennial, which I'm like, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Boomer.
Yes, thank you, Boomer. Yeah. And he's like, okay, just so you know, like, this is what I said. You're not, like, willing to compromise. So you are not able to come to this event that you really want to come to because you can't give somebody who you don't know any type of respect.
Yeah.
And she was like, fuck that bitch. And he's like, all right. No. Like,
it's interesting to me that like the people that are the most toxic have no room for compromise. And the people who are like willing and trying to make it work are trying to like give these like, okay, you can come, but
that's why they're toxic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Because
thinking
they're
about
not
this
willing to
because,
work with people. They're not willing to take accountability. They're not willing to
yeah,
apologize. They're not willing to look at their own behavior and their own patterns. Stay toxic.
yeah. So last year, before my husband went completely no contact, like, they wanted to see our kids on Christmas, and he was like, "You're not seeing them on Christmas Day." And they threw an absolute fit. Like, that bitch is ruining Christmas. Then he's like, "I'm not going to leave my wife at home alone again on Christmas Day. You can see them the next day or on Christmas Eve, but I'm not leaving Leah alone on Christmas Day without our children. It's not happening." And tried to like make compromises. He was like, "Okay, how about this? You guys can come over here on Christmas. I'll let you bring the kids' gifts here at our house, and you can stay for an hour, and Leah will go somewhere else." No, we're not doing that. No, we want them over here. I don't know what to tell you then. It's like there's no room for compromise. Yeah. It's their way or they're not doing anything. And that's almost very telling of like, I thought you wanted to see the kids. Yeah. I thought you wanted this to be about this person, about the child, not about the drama, but you're making it about the drama. It's weird. I mean, it's not weird. It's
patterned, and it's pretty
obvious.
It's one of those things where you kind of know what they're going to do. You're hoping for the best, but through knowing them and their behavior, it's pretty typical.
Yeah.
But do you ever listen to Mel Robbins? Mm-hmm. She always talks about the let them theory.
Yeah.
Like, you do you. So for me, I'm the same way as you. Christmas is me and my family. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. Like, it's us at home. We got some matching PJs.
Same.
That is my happy space. And, everything else comes second. But if they're mad, let them.
Let them be.
Like, if they're going to throw a fit, let them. If they're going to, talk bad about you, let them. If they're going to trash your name, let them. Like, you can't control that. But for me, and Christmas is especially hard for us because Tony's mom passed on Christmas Day. So we are trying to change the narrative this year, especially with talking with Jenny Shanks, the medium, and Tony's mom came through and said, like, you guys stop being so sad on Christmas, because I have my own childhood stuff, and then he lost his mother on Christmas Day. So it's like,
now you're trying to really...
Well, and now we have a 4-year-old. And so like we're really excited because he's excited. And we're also excited because we now know she's there. And she's like, listen, stop being such sad fuckers. She didn't say that. Stop being so sad. And like, I'm there with you. So continue to celebrate it and do things in honor of me and in memory of me, instead of just like, what is being sad going to do? And so now that's what we're doing. But like, I couldn't think of being anywhere else because it makes somebody else happy.
Right.
I want to be at home in my pajamas with my family opening gifts.
Right.
And that's it.
Well, and that's the thing too, for like most of for 15 years of our relationship, we did the holidays the way his mother wanted to do the holidays. We had no traditions of our own. And so now there's like this part of me. So even though the situation is different, like Christmas for me has always been really difficult because of family too. But also like, I feel like I'm just now in a place where I'm doing this my way. And I'm making our own traditions. And my core family is the most important part of this. And I will invite people, we have aunts and uncles coming and great grandparents. But if I don't feel comfortable with you in my house, or you're a person who like causes conflict, or, I feel anxious around you, you're not coming to my house on Christmas Day.
Tony always says, and you guys can say this too, like we are his core 5.
Yeah.
And he said, if my core 5 is not running well, if one of my kids is struggling with something, if you're struggling, like, I'm working to fix that. That is my priority. That is what I care about. Anything outside of that comes after my core 5. But my core 5, if they're running good, then I'm good. So if one of us feels uncomfortable around somebody, we
make sure the pack is good.
Yeah.
I like
pack
that.
stays good, and if it's not good, then we're, working to try to fix it.
Yeah. I think another thing that like really needs to be practiced more during the holidays is like saying no.
Yeah.
And I know that that's like really hard for people, especially if you're like a people pleaser or like recovering people pleaser. I think the people who you have in your life who are very understanding are going to get it. Like last night, one of the girls canceled on us last minute and we're like, we fucking get it, know? Totally. Like understandable.
Yeah.
But then take a look at like the friend groups that you feel like you have to say yes to. Like, why do you feel like you have to say yes? And if you say no, are they going to give you shit about it? I don't do well under pressure.
Neither do I. We both learned we have open root chakras.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Our root chakras are fucking wide open. I don't do well with pressure from other people. So if you're pressuring me to say yes to something, I fucking freeze up and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. I am absolutely not going to say yes because you're pressuring me. If anything, I'm going to avoid the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
And so if anything feels like pressure to me, I say no. Or I say nothing at all. That sounds terrible. But if it feels like, oh, there's no pressure here, like I'm more than likely going to say yes. Because then I know that like if something happens last minute, I'm not going to feel guilty for if I don't go, Does that make sense?
Yeah. You always say that. Yes.
I know. I gotta stop that.
Yeah, no, and I've had friends like that where they don't necessarily take into consideration like how busy you are or the fact that I just like being at home.
Yeah.
So there's like, come on, just this one time. Like, oh, just for a little bit. Like, oh, you'll feel better once you come out. And they don't respect those boundaries. Yeah, I'm not really that great. Like, I may still be friends with people like that, but like the friendship has changed or I'm just not friends with them.
That just reminded me of the year. You probably know who I'm talking about when I say this, but I used to have a friend that was very much a pressurer. And she was like so good at it, but she prided herself on it because it was great for her job. She was a great she didn't do sales, but she could talk anybody into doing anything. And she prided herself on that. But then I started to see it in our friendship. Like there was a weekend, like she wanted to go out and it was my husband's birthday and he had already had plans and I was staying home with the kids. He was going to a football game. Yes. She just whispered the name to me. And I was like, no, I'm staying home with the kids. It's Jason's birthday weekend. He's got plans. He's got football game and all this stuff. And she was like, well, what if I get you a sitter? No, if I get a sitter, then I'm going to go with him. Like, I don't want to go do something separate because it's his birthday weekend. And then she's like, well, just think about it and let me know. And I'm like,
I literally said no.
I just said no, but whatever.
Sometimes people like that are really hard because they're doing it in a way that it's not
it sounds helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So like,
yes,
I said no.
And eventually you're like, okay, fine.
Right. So that's why I end up ghosting people. And I'm like, I don't know how I can say no more clear than I already have. And now you're just making me feel bad. You're continuing to give me solutions to something I don't want a solution to. So yeah, like the day before, did you put any more thought into going out with me tomorrow night? And I'm like, no, I didn't because
I'm here with my kids.
I'm doing this. Well, I can still get a sitter. And I'm like, even if you did, like, I don't want to do my hair and I don't know what I'm going to wear and I don't like going out. I'll help you pick, everything had a solution to it. And I'm like, that works. I can see how that works in your job. This does not work for me in a friendship. I hate that pressure.
Yeah.
You're trying to be helpful, but if I wanted, here's the thing, that thing, it's like, if he wanted to, he would.
If I wanted to do this, I would make it happen.
Yeah. I don't want to do it.
That's a good point.
Didn't even think about that till just now.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So don't pressure your friends either, like into doing things around the holidays. It's already like a stressful time for everybody.
And I think too, that's another great point is sometimes we get so consumed with ourselves and the stuff we're going through, the stuff we're dealing with, that we don't necessarily always realize that even though you may not know it, other people are going through the maybe very similar things, or having a rough time, or are very stressed out, or just want to break, as often as they can during a really busy time of year.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know everyone's story. I don't know all of your story. You still don't know all of my story.
Right.
So back off. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but seriously though, like you might be like, I need to be around this friend and I need to like get out of my house because my everything in my house is chaos and I need to get out and I need to escape for a while. But like maybe that friend like really enjoys being home at that moment because they were fighting last weekend and now they're finally good and she doesn't want to leave, like
even last night.
Okay.
I wanted to go, but I was like, damn, okay, this thing starts at 8. Usually I put my son to bed at 8 and then I go to bed and then I put an eye mask on and then I gua sha and then I roll my face and then I do.
And your bonnet.
And then I have my heatless curls and then my bonnet and my eye mask and then I watch my shows and then I talk about my day with Tony and I almost like decompress and then I have a castor oil pack on my stomach and I should take a picture.
I know. I need a visual.
And then
of this.
I have my grandma pajamas on and like it's a thing. Like my bedtime routine is sacred.
Yeah.
Now, like I can't do that.
Did you compromise?
I did.
Totally.
Because I was like, okay, you like don't ever do anything on the weekday. This will be funny. Like go and have a good time.
Yeah.
You're okay with one night of a castor oil pack.
Right. It's okay. I did wash my face as soon as I got home though, because I'm like, I remember back in the day, like I was home at like 11 or 11:30. Like, first off, that never happened. It was like home at like 2, 3, 4 a.m. But whatever. Like, I'm still doing my nighttime routine. It's just 11:30 and I'm exhausted.
But even when I was like heavily into my drinking, I could be throwing up. So drunk, I don't know my name. I will still brush my teeth I will still wash my face and I won't remember because it's so habit.
Shut up. Mm-hmm. That's impressive.
I could literally, impressive. There have been times where I've been throwing up and you could ask me my name and I don't know my name.
Wow.
But I did brush my teeth and I did wash my face. That's how OCD I am with hygiene.
That's super fucking impressive. That's never happened for me.
I don't know if it's
not a drunk night.
I don't know if it's a flex, but
I'd wake up the next day with like my eyelashes like stuck in my hair, like on my cheeks somewhere, and covered in bruises that I didn't know where it came from.
Yeah.
That's so bad. Yeah. Okay, there's a couple of things I wanted to say too. So I was listening to this podcast and it gave this description of like what it didn't give the description of what embodiment was, but it was kind of saying like giving tips on like how to get out of your head and into your body. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, holy shit, it all makes sense.
Oh, okay.
We've talked about embodiment before. Mm-hmm. Like, and really like as a society, I think we're so disembodied. Like we're so like none of us are used to listening to what our body is telling us. No. Like, so like side effects, sometimes you don't feel them or you don't notice them until they're too far, until you have them so deep that you're like, how the fuck did that happen? You know what I mean?
Well, and even so many people, this is a big one. So many people come and they'll say, oh, I am so anxious.
Knew you were going to say that.
That's I think the number one thing I get. I'm so anxious. And my response always now, first thing is, well, I think that's your body is telling you something.
Mm-hmm.
instead of suppressing it, maybe sit with it to see maybe there's something that you need to change in your life. Maybe there's some habits that you need to incorporate into your life. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. Maybe you're drinking too much. Maybe you're not exercising or eating the right things, but also maybe you're not working through something that you need to work through.
Absolutely.
But that is
people don't want to hear that.
Number one thing I get told, and what people want to do is they just want it to go away. And it's, to me, I think anxiety is a great way of saying, hey,
something's wrong here.
You need to change it up.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right.
It's not bad.
Well, what's interesting is before, I hate saying like before I started healing, because I'm just going to say pre-mushroom Leah and after mushroom Leah, because pre-mushroom Leah was still healing.
Yeah.
You know?
Going to therapy,
I was still doing things. Being around my mother-in-law always made me anxious, and I thought it was because she was an anxious person. And I thought I was like picking up on her energy. And what I didn't realize until after mushrooms was like, oh my God, she makes me anxious because she's controlling and she has all these patterns and she is toxic and she's manipulative, and I didn't realize it before. So I was constantly around this person who like drove my anxiety through the roof.
And sometimes that's the bad thing about healing is it's obviously good for you, but the hard part is like, you're like, oh shit, I'm like seeing this person for who they are.
That's a really hard part about healing. And especially like, I was having this conversation with another friend the other day. I was like, and the really hard part is still not wanting to hurt that person's feelings. Mm-hmm. That's a very difficult part, is noticing these patterns in someone, but still not wanting to hurt that person. That's hard.
Yeah.
But where were we going with that? The anxiety thing.
So you started to feel anxiety and you thought it was just because she was anxious.
Yeah. And she was like, always anxious. She's always, I'm always anxious and depressed, and she like is the type of person who can't sit still. That's how anxious they are. And so I just thought that I was picking up on her energy.
Okay, but I shake my leg too.
Hers was like,
okay, I see what you're saying, but I'm always like,
which I have now learned is either a side effect of anxiety or a side effect of anxiety medications. And so when that's like breaking through and they're like, oh, it's your anxiety acting up, they'll like up your meds because they think that like your leg shaking is your anxiety, but no, it's a side effect of the anxiety medication as well.
Oh,
didn't know that. There's a word for it.
Or ADHD. Because this is like the whole time.
You're not like what I.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, because I do that, but.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Do you remember we got that comment on YouTube?
Your foot shaking.
So like my foot shakes and some weirdo.
Always. It's the same person every time.
I know. It's like dash cam 0, whatever.
Can you shake your leg faster? Can you shake your foot faster? Next time, can you take your socks off?
So dash cam.
Here you go.
You know what? I'm gonna do this for you.
Oh my God, I'm not doing that. Shit. So about the anxiety, like I know we're on a tangent. I'll get to the my embodiment thing in a second, but like another podcast episode that I've been listening to is like this Andrew Huberman and Dr. Paul Conti. It's like a 4-part series and it's like 24 hours long. Not really, but like every episode is like fucking 2 to 3 hours. It's a long fucking series. And he has even said like, show me someone who says they don't have anxiety and I'll show you someone who's manic. Everyone has anxiety because anxiety is your body telling you something is off and something needs to change, whether that be your job, your friends, your eating habits, your exercise habits. Something is off. And think about this. Like, why did we not have anxiety when we were little kids? Some of us probably did because of their environments. You know what I mean? Like,
I did.
Like we probably did. We just didn't know that that's what it was called. We didn't know what that felt like.
I just would get tummy aches.
Yeah. Like, so there are physical symptoms of anxiety, but not everybody's symptoms are the same. Mm-hmm. So some people might shake, but some people might. Jason, when he realized he had anxiety, had a hard time breathing. Like he had shortness of breath. My anxiety just makes me feel like I'm like frozen, So it's interesting that you say that because that is a lot of people are like, yeah, but like, how do you deal with this anxiety? And I'm like, I sit with it and I try to understand it. And it doesn't make it easier because the anxiety's still there, but it almost is like, fuck, now I realize I have to have a conversation with this person and that's going to like really fucking suck, you know? But then that's why it's there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get rid of the anxiety. I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah.
And why it's showing up in certain situations.
And your body it's working with you.
Yeah.
It's trying to protect you. So why do we ignore things and suppress things and medicate ourselves when our body is actually trying to help us?
Mm-hmm.
It's the world we live in. But, and we did not get taught those things. So learning to, I understand like learning to sit with those feelings, they can be very uncomfortable. And it's there's somebody in my life, you know who I'm talking about, who started to feel a little bit of anxiety and panicked. And it just got brought up this week. I don't know what to do. I still have anxiety. It's not going away. And I keep trying to calmly say, okay, I think you need to take a look at your life, and there may be some things that you need to change, but they're not ready to hear that yet. They just want it to go away. So she's about ready to go on a little journey. Not a mushroom journey, but just a life journey. So, yeah, just to learn the, like,
well, yeah,
like she's young and she's gonna have to kind of learn through learning herself and making mistakes. And I'm just, sitting there knowing and, trying to give these little breadcrumbs of help, and she's not reaching and she's not taking the breadcrumbs. So like,
she'll figure it out.
I have to sit back and just watch.
Oh, that's so hard to do.
It's the hardest.
It's so hard to do.
It's the hardest because you want to be of service and help because they're young and they don't know. But also at the end of the day, like, when you become an adult, you have to take those matters into your own hands. And I know that sometimes the things that we say are not necessarily the easy route. They can be challenging. Sitting with yourself, that is hard. Mm-hmm. Healing is hard. Doing the work is hard. But I'll take this hard because with this hard comes peace over chaos, dysfunction, not knowing myself, still feeling terrible. That's hard too. Mm-hmm. So this is so lame and cliche, but it's like, it's that meme that's like, working out is hard, but like a sedentary lifestyle is harder. Like eating well is hard.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. Choose your hard.
Not nourishing. I say the same shit with like healing and working on yourself and learning to sit with yourself. That shit
like divorce is hard. Marriage is also hard.
Right.
Like all these things.
Yeah, it's all hard.
It's all hard. There's no easy.
But I'm going to choose the hard that brings me more peace and makes me feel closer with myself than the latter. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if you think avoiding hard conversations is hard, imagine what it's going to be like when all that resentment builds up. And
that's why.
Yeah, that's really fucking hard.
Yeah, that's why.
That's also hard.
A big mouth.
But it's interesting too, because it's like, you try so hard to like suppress and avoid and numb that feeling of anxiety. What I realized is sometimes even just doing the self-inquiry and like figuring out why it's there feels good. Because you're like, oh my God, finally, I understand why it's there. Doesn't make it easier after that. There's a piece of it that feels like, okay, now I understand it. Now I have to do this hard thing. Now I have to have this hard conversation, or now I realize I have to quit my job. But it also feels like now there's an answer, and now I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And that feels so much better than the dark like flailing your arms in the dark because you have no idea why it's there.
Well, and I think about, I've always been somebody who has struggled with anxiety and panic attacks. I've struggled with anxiety since I was a little kid. And before, I didn't know where things stemmed from. I had no idea why I was anxious. I didn't know what was triggering it. When I had a panic attack, I felt like they were coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They weren't though.
Right.
But I was so disconnected from myself, I was not in tune with myself and how I was feeling.
Right.
Now, I still do get anxious in certain situations, but now it's like usually when I get anxious, I'm like, oh, I'm around the wrong people.
Right. Right. I know exactly why I feel anxious right now.
Or this is a conversation I am not particularly enjoying. So, I don't like it. Now I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know where this is coming from. I have not had a panic attack in years because I am much more in tune with my body, that I know when I'm starting to feel anxious. And if there are things that I need to remove or add or whatever, then I work on doing that. So, and it doesn't get to a point where then I get a panic attack because it's this build up. And then I like wake up at 3:00 in the morning and I feel like I'm having a heart attack.
I just had a thought.
Okay.
And it's going to go into like the whole embodiment thing that I want to talk about. You know how we have always said like doing mushrooms feels like home, and it feels like a reset.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a literal practice of embodiment. Like for the first time, you understand what it means to be in your body.
That's such a good point because mushrooms can be very, very transparent. They can be incredibly challenging because feelings come up, memories come up
that you can't avoid.
Your shadows come up. You don't know what's going to come up, but the things that need to come up because they need to be felt. So, in most of my journeys, I'm crying, I'm really going through a hard time.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling all of these things
that you have otherwise suppressed or ignored or forgotten about.
And the best thing about this medicine, the best advice is to let yourself surrender to the medicine. And so
surrender to the feelings.
And so when you surrender to the medicine, you are surrendering to the feelings. And then it's almost like there's this lesson or epiphany or like this release because you've actually felt the things that you needed to feel. And then it's like you come out of it and you're like, huh, light bulb.
Okay. I'm having like a moment right now. So I was with someone several weeks ago. We were talking about like how she feels like around the holidays. She like is catering to everyone else and doesn't know, is like abandoning her own needs. Mm-hmm. And she's aware of that. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking to her about one of my journeys where I felt what it felt like to abandon myself.
Oh.
And I also felt what it felt like to not abandon myself. And that was the first time.
Which journey was that?
The self-love one. Like my second one where I was just like, holy shit, I've been abandoning myself more than anybody else has. And I have these major abandonment wounds. So I'm telling it to her and I'm just like, I did the same thing. And she's like, yeah, but I don't need to do mushrooms to know that I'm doing this to myself. I know I'm doing it to myself. And I'm having this realization as you're saying this. I kind of like got a little bit defensive because I was like, well, I didn't need to do mushrooms to know that either. Like I knew that like I was abandoning myself.
You can intellectualize it all day long.
But I didn't know what it felt like to really fucking choose myself until I chose myself in this trip. It's like I embodied that feeling. So coming out of that trip, anything that felt like it wasn't choosing me, I wasn't doing it. Because for the first time, I had embodied that feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a difference. But that's also why it's hard to explain to people who don't know and who have never done it, because you do sound like you're like saying what's on a pillow. Like, choose yourself,
but
choose
a lot
love.
I think we all intellectualize our trauma or our wounds. We're like, oh, I do this because of this and this happened to me.
Right. And I don't need to do mushrooms to know
And
that I do this.
I don't need to know mushrooms to understand that. And again, you don't.
Right.
There are multiple avenues where you can, like, we do embodiment circles, therapy. Mushrooms isn't the only avenue, but you do have to embody it, not intellectualize it.
Yeah.
Because your body still needs to feel those things.
So this practice of embodiment that I was listening to, the way I heard this, like everything clicked for me, because you're right. We've done these embodiment circles, and it's not that like I've never like experienced what it feels like to be in my body. But this is, I think, a practice for anybody who doesn't know what that feels like. Okay? This is a very simple way to do it. I tend to spiral. I think we all fucking do. And I'm not ashamed to say that it still happens. And it's really hard for me to pull myself out of those spirals. I think I need a lot of co-regulation. I think we all do, but like sometimes it's easier said than done, you know? So one of the things that it was talking about was like doing this practice of embodiment. And if you're watching, like I'm sitting like in crisscross applesauce, and when you feel yourself starting to spiral or your thoughts are like racing and you don't know how to get out of it, think of your body as a tree. Okay. So use this tree analogy. Your butt is what is grounded. That's like the roots. Imagine your butt and your like the roots coming out of that. And that's like your root chakra and going into the ground, into the earth, into the center of the earth. Like that's the thing that's like keeping you grounded. Okay. Your head is, and your thoughts are all the leaves on the trees.
Okay.
And the branches on the trees.
Okay.
Now, look at a tree and the way that it is in wind, right? The leaves are just swaying and moving, and they're all over the place. And there's like, you know, it looks like the tree could topple over at any second if you're looking at the top of the tree. But then like you focus down at the bottom, and if that root is like strong and sturdy, that tree's not going anywhere. It is like firmly planted. So this practice of embodiment, it's really just like working from your head where the leaves and the tree branches are just swaying in the wind, and like imagining your thoughts coming back to your body. Like, okay. And then working your way down, and then working your way, like feel it in your heart. Okay. All right. I'm here. This is how I'm feeling. Feel it in your stomach. Okay. I'm here. And this is how I'm feeling. And then feel it in your bottom. And like, okay, those thoughts aren't real. They're real. Those feelings are real, very, very real, but they are not what's like keeping you sane and keeping you whole. Because that spiraling, none of those fucking things happen. The things that I'm thinking about happening, like none of those things happen. They're just like fucking leaves getting tossed around in the wind. Like it's not where I am in that moment. And to practice full embodiment, it's like, oh my God, I'm sitting in my living room and I'm safe, and you know my husband is here and he is not trying to like start a fight, and he's trying to help me in this situation, and all right, okay, I'm good. That's really fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
But that whole like tree analogy like really fucking like got to me, and I was like, oh my God, that's what it feels like to practice embodiment.
Wow.
To know that like you are firmly planted and you are safe, and the wind is not going to knock you over.
I love that you explained it that way, because I'm going straight to said person.
Oh.
When she complains about her anxiety and not knowing what to do, and just using that analogy, because I think that's a great way to explain that.
Well, you've always heard the thing like don't make a decision like, you know, in the middle of turmoil. So like if your anxiety is running super high, like you're not supposed to be like making life decisions anyway. Right. So like if you can get to a place where you're firmly planted, you feel grounded, then you can sit with yourself and make a rational decision and a rational reaction to what's going on around you. Because when your like head is up here, like you're not thinking clearly.
No.
You're not reacting clearly.
Well, here's a perfect example. You during your luteal phase. Or probably
Same.
any woman.
Yes.
Like pre, during, sometimes post cycle.
Yeah.
I randomly freaked out on Tony about something so dumb, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving, and I like leave and slam the door, and he's like, and he calmly said, I know you're on your period, but you can't talk to me that way. And I had to like kind of leave and cool off, because in the moment I was not hearing that.
Right.
I just went like 0 to like 160 real fucking quick. And then I was able to kind of sit with myself for a little bit and be alone. And luckily I had like this long drive, and then I came home and immediately was like, I am sorry. I am crazy.
That's happened.
I am so sorry. Like I like thought about it. I was like, wow, you acted way out of pocket. Like so out of pocket. But that stuff does happen on your hormones. But again, I'm not going to go and make this life-changing decision while I'm losing my marbles because I'm on my period.
I wish that men knew just a fraction of what that feels like.
They don't fucking know.
I'll like this week when I started my period, like it's Sunday, I was like super fucking emotional. I was crying over really stupid shit, literally. And then I started my period the next day, like, and I was like, oh.
How many women can relate to that? I'm
not fucking crazy.
Right. Where you like cry, you get incredibly emotional, you get angry, you get like, riled up about something, and then you get your period and you're like, oh,
I'm not bipolar. That's me. Oh, that makes sense. Now I get it. I cried Sunday because Elle had a project due. My 7-year-old had a project due for school the next day, and Jason printed out a photo that he took from his phone, and it was not that great.
Like of you?
No, it was of her.
Oh.
It was of her. It was just not a good photo. And so I reprinted it, and I straightened it, and I cropped it, and I printed it out for her. And she was like, I'm going to do this one because it says love at the bottom of it. And I was like, she picked the one that Jason did. Half-assed. Jason half-assed this photo, and she picked that one. And I like went in and I was like, I'm going to make it perfect, and I'm going to crop it, and it's going to be perfect. And I cried, and I was like, it's fine. But literally, I'm like, I'm trying really hard not to cry because I look like a crazy person right now. Elle has no idea what's going on. But I don't take birth control anymore, so like I don't know when it's coming.
So, tip for Jason.
Yeah.
Tony tracks my cycle.
I've tried to get him to track it.
I've
sent him the app and everything.
He tracks my cycle. So there have been times where he's like, oh my gosh, every woman in my house is syncing up. This is not good. Pray for me.
That makes so much sense. But
he'll say, like, I will randomly cry, and he'll be like, well, you're expected to get your period in about 2 days. So I understand.
Well, do you know, Monday when it finally came, when my period came, I literally like went to him and I was like, high five. We made it through the weekend without fighting. And we had a birthday party with like 8 7-year-olds at my house. And I was like literally like high-fiving him because we did it. I was like, we made it through my luteal phase.
He's like, awesome.
He's like, barely. It's funny how like wild and in sync we are. Like, especially when we're like not on birth control, like how much more you feel it. Do you feel that? Because when I was on birth control, it felt like it was like kind of under control.
Yes.
But without it, I'm like, I'm a fucking psycho.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was all I had about the embodiment.
But I feel like with a conscious masculine man, they're
aware.
Well, and they're better we're the roller coaster, and they're much better at kind of like riding the wave.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
They're extremely grounded. Jason's way more grounded than I am.
Oh God, 100%. I'm fucking nuts.
Right. Sometimes I'm like, can you like lift off just once? No, he lifts off plenty. But like when I am like lifting off, he's very grounded, and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's funny.
Do we have anything else to talk about?
Well, where are we at? We're already at an hour.
Yeah.
I did want to kind of talk about the Matthew Perry thing.
Oh gosh, yeah, I so forgot about that one. Okay.
Only because I do think that it's important that we reiterate that we are not here to talk anybody into doing anything. And we are big on harm reduction and safety.
That's why we have this podcast.
And I think maybe we should do more harm reduction and safety. Because I do think a lot of people hear what we're talking about, and they go out and they try to do these things alone or with someone who doesn't really know what to do. And we strongly advise against that. And then this ketamine situation, I was a little bit worried that, like, you know, it's very unfortunate and it's very fucking sad. And I think that headlines sometimes get a hold of this stuff and they're like blaming it on ketamine. And I've seen a lot of headlines that have done a really good job of talking about the good things about ketamine and how the way that he did it was not safe.
Yeah.
Like, knowing what I know about ketamine and the way that it makes you feel, that would be like, to me, one of the worst things that you could possibly do is do ketamine alone and in a hot tub. It's a disassociative. You are absolutely not aware of like your surroundings like that.
Well,
and if you take too much, like, you're going to be in a sedative state.
Well, and I remember when I took you to your first ketamine session.
Yeah.
And Henry, who is the therapist that was working with you, which again, if you are going to do ketamine, please work with a therapist, please.
And if you are in Louisville, Henry Lucas at Louisville Health and Healing, and I think they have a few more therapists there who are now trained in it as well.
Yes.
It's very important.
Yes, it's very, very, very important. But, and I just remember he said this, I think he was like, okay, you know, if you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom now. And I think you went to the bathroom and he said, like, if you were to try to stand up, you would faceplant.
Yeah.
You would, like, you would essentially be, like, paralyzed.
Yeah.
In that sense. And so, you know,
because you're out of your body.
Right. It's a disassociative. And so, you know, you're sitting in a chair with an eye mask and you're not moving for that hour of time. So to then be alone and to then go into a body of water that's so incredibly unsafe, and it's you know,
like, you can be aware that you're in that water, but your body is so frozen, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So I was very aware that I was in a chair in a room, and I was aware of where exactly I was. I was aware that you and he and Henry were sitting across from me. But I couldn't move my fucking pinky.
Yeah, if I were to go and like tickle you and slap you across the face and mess with you a little bit, you wouldn't be able to defend yourself.
No. But it was weird because I could feel like my hands. Like, I could feel that I'm here and I know that my hand is here. Like, I'm aware of my body and I'm aware of my hands, but I'm not able to move them. Like, I'm completely disconnected from my body. It's wild.
But we have had a lot of people message us and they're like, hey, I'm going to do 3 grams and I'm doing it alone. Or, you know, they just want to come and they just are like, okay, yeah.
My friend's done them before. They'll know how to sit with me.
Yeah, that. Or, you know, see, like, everything you guys are doing, I think I'm going to do 5 grams.
I want to do that.
I want to do that. That's nothing. We are not promoting that. We do not encourage that. We continue to stress that you need to learn about the medicine yourself.
Yeah.
You need to do your own research. you need to be able to advocate for yourself, because again, these medicines are powerful. Whether you go the underground route or the clinical route, not everyone is safe. So don't have this blind trust in anyone, because I feel like we're this Switzerland where we get messages about people who do retreats, people who have ketamine clinics, like facilitate mushrooms, clinical, underground, whatever. We get messages about good experiences, but we also get messages about bad.
What if we focus on that next year?
Yeah.
And not focus on it, not like put a focus on it, but I think it would be, I will reach out, but I think we know someone who has done that, who was like, I was inspired by your podcast and I just did 3 grams by myself. And I'm not going to tell her story, but I think after that, she was like, I should have had someone with me. And it wasn't a bad experience, but it could have gone south very quickly. And I think she realized that afterwards. And it's like, you think you can do it alone. And I think there's a lot of people who are like, well, I've gone this far in life alone. I don't need help. And no, there's a reason that we don't recommend you do it alone. And I know that there are some people out there who are like, the best way to do it is alone. And I'm like, that's great that you're there. But for a beginner, fuck no. And even where I
wouldn't do it alone now.
Same. That's exactly what I said. I was like, I am familiar with the medicine enough, and I still wouldn't do it alone.
Yeah.
I don't need a guide anymore, but I always make sure that there is someone with me, always. Someone who's safe, someone I know, it's usually my husband. But you know what I mean? Like, I would never do it with someone who didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think we should maybe bring to light some of the dark moments next year.
Well, but here's the thing, I guess.
Because there's a dark to everything.
I know. And I guess what I'm trying to say is there are retreats, facilitators where we have heard bad things, whether it be there was some type of sexual misconduct, which I hate hearing that so much, or there wasn't proper integration or therapy, or
and they did conversations about that.
They did ketamine and it was with a nurse, and then they went home, so there was no therapist to work things out with, and
right.
No
and then they're reaching out to us like, what do you mean intention setting? What does integration mean? Like, so it's like
but there has to be some. But there also has to be some self accountability.
100%.
I am not going to go drink a 5th of liquor because I know what's going to happen. So I'm not going to go, if I've never done mushrooms, go take a handful of mushrooms because I don't know what's going to happen. That's something that I need to learn. Like, you have to advocate for yourself. So there is somebody who has had, not good experiences a few different times. And there's a part of me that wants to say, like, okay, but like, it's a little bit on you, because if you're not working, if you went and did ketamine and there wasn't a therapist there, like, those are things that you should know.
Yeah.
Or you should learn. And we do our best to try to provide that education and information. And I guess we can do more next season and talk. I wish we could say who and what, and if people do, especially who are in the Louisville area, if you do message us, then we can give you insight on yes or no. If like we think that's a good avenue to go down and give you some feedback. But that part's so hard.
It really is. It's tricky. It's really tricky. But we have one person in particular who reached out and said, this is what my experience was like, and it sounds nothing like yours. And as soon as she said that, I was like, that's like so many red flags, and I don't trust that at all. something's off.
Yeah.
So, it is nice to have people that you can ask those types of questions about. And I also think next year we do need to maybe talk about ketamine a little bit more, and the differences, because I do think that it kind of teeters that line of Western and non-traditional a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It really
For
does.
sure. Yeah.
Because there are like the spravatos and the nasal sprays and the people who do it daily, and it's like it just gives them some relief from their anxiety for a bit, but it's not permanent and it's not doing lasting changes.
Yeah.
And so I think people tend to stick to that. And I think some people are like weirded out that I never finished my treatments, that I haven't finished my treatments yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I haven't needed to. And that concept is so foreign to people who are like, well, what do you mean? Like, you're okay? And,
We're just so conditioned to take a pill.
Yeah.
And it go away, or do this thing or keep doing these things because that's what it's going to fix me, instead of having the mindset of like, you are your own medicine.
Yeah.
Those are just little tools in your toolbox that can help you.
Yeah. It is definitely a tool in my toolbox now.
Yeah.
But I know what it's for and I know where it lies.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what Shane Moss was saying last night, the comedian, when he was talking about ketamine for a minute. He was like, it's like a little like stepping stone. I don't remember how he said it. Do you remember how he was saying it? What he was saying, I was like, oh my God, yes. Mm-hmm. It's not like this life-changing epiphany thing. He was like, but it's like enough to pull you out of a dark hole temporarily. Yeah. And that's what it was for me.
But for me, and again, I haven't done ketamine, so I can't speak on ketamine, but for me, mushrooms, it was like, it clicked.
That's kind of what he was saying too. He was like, you want to go like see some weird shit and go somewhere really fucking cool for like an hour, do ketamine. If you want to learn like a really deep, long, lasting life lesson, mushrooms.
But do you think that's because mushrooms are actually from Earth? And so there's this more like
a natural
sacredness to it?
Possibly.
But
I don't know that it makes ketamine bad
either.
No,
but I think it's almost like it's more of this
universal
spiritual
yeah.
like you're
like it's of the earth. It's like
right, because it is literally of the earth. Like you are. It's almost like you take it and you're connecting with the universe and yourself and realizing like.
Do you know mushrooms are more closely related to humans than they are to plants? Isn't that wild? Wow. Yeah, and they have like their own language and shit. I mean, so do plants, but like you would think that a mushroom would be more closely related to a plant than a human, but they're more related to us.
After watching Fantastic Fungi, which if you have not watched it, please do. It's so incredibly informative if you're wanting to learn more about mushrooms, but how truly intelligent this species is with like the mycelium network and how they like communicate, and they're everywhere. Like I didn't
you can't step on the ground without stepping on some type of network. It's like the original World Wide Web.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's fucking wild. Okay, so we're still on break technically. We just wanted to say bye to you guys for a little bit.
Yes, we're not coming back until February.
Stay tuned. In the meantime, we do want to say we're showing up less on social media, which feels really nice. But then every now and then I'll get on there and there'll be a message that I haven't read, and it's like been like 3 days, and I feel like I have to apologize because maybe that person's new to our platform and they don't know that we're taking a break.
Yeah.
So maybe we should put in our bio like on break until February.
We should make a post. Easy peasy.
Pin it to the top of the page. Mm-hmm. So we're on there sporadically. We're just quieter. We got a lot going on in our lives right now. Taking a break.
Yeah.
What else should we say?
I don't know.
We do have some really exciting news for when we come back.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
We've done so much whispering in this episode.
And they might have heard that. Yes, we do. Season 3, we've got some hopefully awesome interviews.
Yes.
I think we will. Great content and some maybe cool partnerships.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, super cool.
Super fucking cool partnerships.
Yeah, we're
super
really excited.
Okay, and I'll be 40 when we come back.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's right. The big 4.
You know, I always joke and I always say I'm turning 29, and this is the first time ever, even my aunt noticed it. She was just like, "Oh, you're embracing it." And I'm like, I think I am.
I think you should.
I don't think I've ever, like, I've always half-assed joked that I'm always forever 29. Like, I'm always turning 29. And I'm like, I keep saying I'm going to be 40 this year.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Own it.
Okay. All right. To everybody listening, we'll see you when we get back, but also stay curious. Be open. We'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Bye.